Alright guys, so I have one last video that I've been meaning to put out. I'm going to kind of rush through it because I may have already done this once, not realizing my sound was too low. So, we're going to be going over dimensioning and kind of how to set that up, what your controls are going to be for that, and then what you'll need to do. So, I have this little house right here that I'm going to use kind of as an example. The first thing I want you to do is, usually you're set to the home right here. I want you to click on annotate, and then you're going to need to set up a text style. So you'll click on your text bar right here. You're probably set to annotative or standard, or if you've already set it up for doing your labeling for your rooms, then you should have some settings there. In this case, I'm going to set a height of 1 foot, and I'll kind of explain as we get into this what's going on when I say I want to set this to 1 foot. And then just like all the other fonts, you can set your font size or font style right here. I am not going to set it annotative. I think it kind of gets a little crazy with dimension lines when you start doing annotative. So I'm going to leave this at 1 foot, and we'll go from there. So when I say 1 foot, what I'm talking about is how big it's going to appear here on the screen. When I have a 1 foot tall font, and I can drop some text here, actually let's do single line. So if I have a single line of font here, and we'll just do that, that's how big it's going to appear. And then if I come over to my layout, that's how it's going to appear in there. So it'll be a 1 foot tall lettering, but when you bring it into scale at 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, it's going to appear 1/4 inch tall. If you're doing 1/8 inch scale, then it'll appear 6 inch or um, math, an 1/8 inch tall. Yeah. So keep in mind that the value you're setting here for your font, for your dimension text, that's going to be the scale it shows up in the model, so long as you're not doing annotative. So keep that in mind when you set that value. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do is, next to that is this dimension settings, and then you're going to have annotative and standard. This I don't usually do a duplicate value for, duplicate a existing one and create another. Typically, especially for this class, you guys are only going to have one font, or sorry, one dimension that you're going to set up. In some cases, if you're doing a much larger project and you had to do, say, like a site plan, a floor plan, and then a call out, then you would probably end up having an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and maybe a 1/16 inch, or or something. One of the not 1/16 inch, or a 1/2 inch setup that you would use to show off those different dimensions for those different drawings. In this case, we're only going to set up one, but I want to go into detail on what we're actually setting. All right. So I'm going to click modify here on the standard one, and I'm going to jump over to this first window here, which is lines. And I'll kind of walk through what these are. So you should have kind of an example right here, and mine's going to not change as much. Yours is going to change a lot as we change some of these values. So this baseline spacing is kind of the distance between the dimension lines themselves. So if you were going to have a dimension line and a dimension line, then you would end up having basically some space between them. I don't typically place my dimension lines in a way where this is affected by it, but nonetheless I'm going to hit 2 feet here. So and so when it talks about that's that line right here that you'll see. And when you have your dimension lines spaced out and use AutoCAD's ability to actually manage that, it'll space them out 2 feet apart. So if I have a 2 foot gap between my dimension lines and my text is a foot tall, then I have 2 1/6 inch borders on either side of it, and then I have no clue what fraction that comes out to actually rendered on the page. I guess 1/8 inch on a 1/4 inch scale. Just remember though that our kind of operating dimension that we're going to be using, because I went with the 1 foot tall font, is going to be a 1 foot measurement. So I've got this 2 here, and I'll kind of show you how that goes later. So The next thing is extend beyond dimension lines. That's how far this little edge right here is going to stick up. So again, if I have 1 foot tall font, 6 inch gap between the text and the dimension line, then this will stick up to about the middle of where that text is. If I change this, say, to 2 feet, you can see that those lines right here just jumped quite a bit. So again, I'm going to keep 1 foot here, but oops, see it 1 inch. But keep in mind that it's kind of, I want you to focus on what these commands are doing and not necessarily how I'm setting them. You don't necessarily have to copy me, though you might want to for this project, I guess. And then offset from origin. So this right here is, the origin is where you're going to actually physically place that dimension line when you tell it what it's going to point at. And so this is how far from that point it'll actually start rendering the line. So if I say here's the corner of my house, it's going to go 3 inches and then start drawing a dimension line up. All right. So those are the values I'm going to have for this page. Next tab up is going to be symbols and arrows. I'm going to go with closed filled, but you do have a whole bunch of different options here. I know that a lot of people like the architectural ticks, the obliques. I think Reuven has you guys do architectural ticks for his class. So be aware that that's where those are. You've got both. You can assign both sides independently, though usually you'll go with the same for both. And then the leader line as well, in case you have something sticking out, how it will point back to that. All right. Next is the arrow size. I'm going to set mine again at 6 inches. That's just an appropriate scale, I feel, for the size that I'm working at. I'm not going to set a center mark, but that'll be that little point in here. And actually, because we're at the scale we are, I can set this to 6 inches, and you can see that now there's a visible plus mark in the middle just to indicate where the center of that circle is. But I'm going to leave this at none for now. Let's see, dimension break. Let me just double check. I don't think I've actually ever set this in a while. And I'm not seeing any change. I forget what that one does. I don't usually use that. Whatever, it's fine there. So, arc length symbol. Again, you probably aren't going to have too many. We'll go ahead and I think it was set right there. We'll just leave that as it was. Let's see. So the linear jog dimension, I'm going to leave that at 1.5 because I don't think I've ever actually set that one either. So next up, text. So this is where we're actually going to set up our text style. So if you did that already, you can go to here, select the dimension text that we created a minute ago, or you created a minute ago, or you can click on this little dot thing right here and it'll open up that same text window. So you can set your dimension text right there, and then it's going to inherit that text height. If you want your fractions to be smaller, sometimes it's kind of cool if you just do like a 0.5. Oh wait, am I thinking of something else? 0.25. I'm thinking of something else there. But go ahead and leave that at, oh, that's why that got checked. 1.5. Is that for horizontal? My brain has just skipped out on me on, where is it? Where are, 1 second. Okay, yeah, found it. So it was, it's, see how I have these fractions here set to be like that? It's another panel down here with the fraction format. I had already set mine to not stacked. So it's not going to affect them, but if I had diagonal fractions or horizontal fractions like that, then I could come in here and I could set this 2.5. and then click out of there, and I'd be able to fit them in there. So I'm going to go ahead and say just leave that at 1 right now. And then I'm going to change this back to not stacked for now. Okay, so don't draw a frame around text, that's super annoying. Text placement. Generally, you're going to want to go vertical, or sorry, above when the line is vertical, or sorry, yeah, vertical, and then for horizontal centered, and then text placement aligned with dimension line. So if I went to say centered right here, the vertical axis that it's going to place that text in is going to be in the center of that line. You could go below so it'll appear below like that, but I'm going to do vertical as above. This horizontal, kind of the same idea. You either have centered or it just kind of shifts it around at different spots, okay? I'm going to leave that as centered, and then view direction left to right versus right to left. That's only in the case of if you have a weird situation where you really want the text to appear in a certain spot. You can set sort of like a reverse version where you basically set up this dimension style and then create a duplicate for the reverse so that the text appears in the exact spot you want. I'm going to leave that as that for now though. So the offset from the dimension line is how far your text is actually going to be off that dimension line. So if I was to set that to say, let's say 3 feet, you can see that the text moves further and further away from the dimension line that it's assigned to. I do, no, not 5 feet. I like doing 5 inches instead of 6 inches. Now originally I said we're going to do 1 foot, which means that placement would be 6 inches typically. Why I'm doing 5 inches is I like it just kind of shifted a little bit closer to the line it's assigned to, so that you don't get as confused necessarily in some cases as to which dimension line you're looking at. And then finally, I think I kind of messed around with this, but you have horizontal where the text is always horizontal, and then you have the line with dimension line. I'm going to go with dimension line. You can do ISO standard, but I'm going with that. So. Alright, fit is the next one, and I'm going to do both text and arrows. You can force it to do text. What this will do is if you run out of space, it's going to kind of just give you, it's going to move the arrows to the outside. If it doesn't fit, there's not a lot of good choices you have, except for doing a more detailed drawing and pulling those drawings out, or those dimensions out from the more detailed drawing. And so in the case where your line, like say that, again, I have a 1 foot character and I'm trying to dimension a 6-inch gap, it's not going to fit, okay? So text placement when it is not in the default position. So when it can't fit, what do you do with it? And so we'll say beside the dimension line, I kind of prefer over the dimension line with a leader. And so it'll appear like this, I think, in one of these things down here. It pops up like that. And then you can move it. Sometimes it just goes, hey, this isn't going to fit, and then you try and place it, and it fits just fine. So that happens. Scale for dimension features, go ahead and leave that as is. We're not going to be doing anything annotative, and we're not going to scale this at this time. Don't check this. I find this super annoying because it can actually disrupt your workflow. But if you do have an issue, it will let you place the text manually. I like to just do all the lines and then go back and fix them. And then I do believe you want to do that. Actually, just the text. Yeah, sorry, I was messing around with stuff. So fit options, I'm going to go with text here. I want to keep these all in the same position every time regardless. So the text will always be within, the dimension line will always be there, and then we'll get a leader line like this to reposition the text if it doesn't fit. Okay, primary units, make sure you set this to architectural. Precision, I'm going to go with 1/32, though everything in this drawing is pretty much like accurate to an inch. There is a round option here. Don't worry about that necessarily. Usually you'll just go with the precision. Oh, yeah. Gotta stop recording so late. Alright, so measurement scale factor. We're not going to scale this, but you can double it for no idea why you'd want to do that. Maybe if you were trying to convert it, I don't know. You're still in inches though. So, zero suppression. So, just in the event that you have, it's not going to show up in there. In the event that you have like just weird trailing zeros and stuff, I'm not going to worry about those. Same thing with decimal degrees. You'll probably experience them there because there are zeros, and you can set the precision. So if I wanted to say, hey, let's get that level of precision where it's, and I know this is hard to see, but it's like several decimal places, then you can trim out those trailing or leading, though it's not giving us any trailing to use. So yeah, I'm not going to worry about that too much. And usually there's not a lot of cases where in architecture you're going to need a second or third decimal for an angle accuracy. So that's the setting that I'm going to go with. So again, I'll just kind of run through these. You can pause your monitor or pause the video and just kind of check them out. So that's what I have for lines, symbols and arrows, text, fit, primary units. I'm not going to bother with alternate units or tolerances just because we're not dealing with that stuff. So you can hit OK on that, and there's my kind of the sample that it's going to give me. All right, so we've got that set up. Let's actually place some dimension lines now. So I'm going to go to linear, and what I like to do is I like to kind of check out the drawing, and usually what I'll have is either 2 to 3 tiers that I'll measure. And so often the first tier is going to be anything that's small and detailed. So in this case, I'm going to go from this corner to this door where this door starts, and then I'm going to go 3 feet off. Now, one of the things that I always kind of get into with students and enforce is when you are positioning your dimension lines for your doors, windows, and things, pick a side. If you have, and what I want to see is I want to see, oh, see, here's that example I was saying right there where it pops it out, but you can probably fit that back in and it'll work, except for those stupid arrows. All right, so I dimension this door. I usually go clockwise whenever I do mine. So I went from this corner to here. You can go this corner to here, but be consistent when you choose that direction. So when I go to linear here, I'm going to start at this corner of the window, and I'm going to come to this other corner. Why am I doing that? Because, and we're going to cover this more in the Revit class, but actually labeling what these doors and windows and things are and then creating schedules is going to be part of what we'll cover in Revit. And so the contractor or whoever is building this would have a symbol here for what that window is or what this door is. When I place this, and I don't think I quite covered what I did there, but when I start drawing this line, I'm going to click right here on this corner, and then that matching corner over here. I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to type 3 feet, not because it says 3 feet, but to give some space here. And that's because we would have a symbol here sometimes indicating what that window is. So the contractor would know that in this case it's I think it's probably a 2 foot wide window with a 1 foot bit of wall right here. So that contractor would start at this corner of the wall, tape measure out to one of those corners, and then tape measure to the other side. I learned way back in the day that you should do to the center because the contractor will go to the center and then measure. Apparently, the only person who does it like that is the guy I learned it from. So, pick a side, just be consistent. All right. So in this case, I'm going to go clockwise. So I'll start at this corner to do that one, this corner this way, and so on. So then I will continue this one right here to there, and then I can either again type 3 foot. Really? or I can manually move it out. Why did you... we will just adjust then. So I'll select this one, and we'll just hit continue, and that'll resume whatever the last one I was, sorry, it continues this little tiny button right here. So I will select this line right here, I will click continue, and then I'll choose that spot right there. So we're going first clockwise direction around this building, first edge, first edge, first edge, and then to the corner. Alright, take this, and we'll just drag this back into that spot, and we're happy with that. Okay, so that's got my detailed ones. Next thing I'm going to do is all the interior walls. So I only have this one interior wall here. Let's actually add a second one real quick. Okay, we have a second interior wall. So what I'm going to do is the next level. So the first one's going to be any change in the exterior is what I'm doing with this first level. So I have my doors and I have my windows. The next one is going to be anywhere where an interior wall is going to intersect with an exterior wall. So with this one again, I'm going to go to annotate, linear dimension, and then I'm going to start, and I'm actually, well, so let's start at the top just to kind of go one step at a time here. So I'm going to do from this corner to this corner because there is a change in the surface here if you were looking at it kind of in an elevation direction. I'll do 3 feet again, and then we'll continue, and we'll go to there. And then we'll continue wrapping our way around. So we'll go, oops, sorry, I have to stop that. So we'll do linear, and there's no changes in this wall, so if I had any windows, say over here, then I'd do the same thing over here. But instead there's nothing here, so I'm just going to do that one dimension. And I'm going to come here again with another one. We'll do this corner to this corner, out 3 foot, continue. Now, the first one here is going to be this wall section right here, is going to be that first change that we're actually going to map. So I'm going to go right here to that point to show that there's a surface change there. And then I'm going to skip over all of these and go to there. Okay? Then I'm going to start at the other corner here, and this is what, pay attention to this because this is what trips up students every single semester. If you have something like this right here where you have a section in, don't start from here. You need to show this distance right here. So I'm going to start at that corner right there, and I'm going to come out here. We'll do 3 feet, and then again, interior wall, exterior, and then again, don't forget to come out through here and get that spot. Okay? And then we'll do one final loop, and what I'm going to do is I'll show the entire width of that pad, of the building pad itself. So I'm going to go corner to here, and then let me see, actually I can do so this is that, really, select, so this is that 2 foot gap that I mentioned when I was doing when I was showing you guys other stuff there. So instead of doing the continue, I chose baseline, which will automatically inherit the one you select. So now I can go and just show the entire width of this part of the building. All right, I already have that right there. So I'll do baseline again, S for select, and I'll choose that one right there. And again, it automatically jumps that out to the correct distance. And I'll click right there. And then one last time we'll do baseline, S for select, this one right here, and then again to the corner. Now, one thing I don't want to see is you should never have, as you move lines further out, you should never have them intersect more interior lines. So your detail lines here should always have their own things, but anything that's common should always cross right here. So I should never see, for example, like a line like this that cuts through that, okay? Your detail line should be the most detailed point. So any line that's a further out line than that should only match them or pass over them. So that should be right there. Next, let's do interior. So we've got that right there. What I need to know now is I need to know where my interior walls are. So I should be able to eventually, through enough jumps, but ideally through a short number of jumps, be able to figure out where all these interior and exterior walls are, based on where the a exterior point. So I should be able to go, okay, let's see where this wall is compared to this corner. So I should be able to go over 8 feet, up 1, and then I would be able to dimension this in. So I'm going to draw a dimension line right here. Now, interior is always kind of a bit more of a free-form thing. You can get kind of weird with it. It just kind of depends on how the interior structure works. You're also going to have overlaps. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it often. So just kind of be a little bit more flexible with your interiors, but try not to crowd things too much. So you can see now that we have 6-inch thick walls because this goes over 8 feet, up 1, and over 7'6". You would also be able to then technically assume that you have a 6-inch wall here, and then I would be able to take this and draw this line right here to show not only to show the width of this room, and then again, math would let you know that you have 6-inch walls. I would then dimension the full width of this room right here, so you know that you have 7'6" exterior to this interior, but then you also have 14 across. Now I should have some doors here, but I don't. Let me fix. All right, so we'll just pretend that I have doors drawn there, but I don't. So we need to figure out where these doors are in this room. So again, I'll go from here. My clockwise in this room would actually have me going. So let's delete that one right there. We'll do a linear dimension from here to here. That's a little tight. Let's go linear, and you can actually jump around to different sides like that. So we can do, that's tight. We'll do 5 right there, and then we'll just continue this one up to here, and that'll work. Okay, so we have that dimension. Now I need to show these. So if I go clockwise through this room, then I would go from this corner to here, and then I'll do a continue there and there. So now I know, again, I would have the dimensions of these doors, so I know exactly where these doors go. And then finally I would come through and do another linear, I don't even know where this one would fit. We'll just do that right there. And we'll do that. So this is a bit OCD of a drawing. I would not expect you guys to do one this complex. All I'm looking for in your final is your exterior dimensions, but I just kind of wanted to cover interior dimensions there. So for your final, only do the exterior dimensions. Interior is kind of just a whole lot more of a mess. Once you've done that, don't forget to create a dimensions layer, assign your dimensions to the dimensions layer, and go with that. So I should have a dimensions layer right there, and then this, because I already had it, kind of went through it once. There's that at a, what did I do, arc C? I think I did arc C. So there's that scale right there. That's probably, well, no, that's 1/4 inch. Yeah, 1/4 inch. Oh yeah, because it's ArcC, not ArcT. Okay, so yeah, so that would print out at a 1/4 inch tall text with this gap being, let's measure it just to double check and prove I'm not crazy. And distance. And we have on paper space to, oh, am I out? Oh, boo. Quick. So I might have to just click out here. No, it's not going to let me. I have to do. There we go. So that's a 1/2 inch tall line. And do that again here. Nope. Come on. There to there. And you see, oh no, it got the 1 foot. So, yeah, if it wasn't snapping, they changed that behavior a little bit, I think. So yeah, that would be 1/4 inch tall text because it is 1 foot in paper space, or sorry, in model space. So that's kind of a primer on doing dimensioning and kind of covering what those different things do. Again, I want you to be familiar with how to set that up and not necessarily just strictly copy what I do for those settings. All right. So that is the last video for this semester. Good luck. I hope to see your finals all on Tuesday looking fantastic. Cheers.